Sienna God, hello all. Oshta Sahi, good evening. Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 13, part B of reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, an inquiry into values by Robert M. Percy. He then went ahead and described some of the methods of comparison that had evolved in the classroom. I think he really did hope that someone would come along, challenge him, and try to define quality for him, but no one ever did. However, that little parenthetic statement about inability to recognize quality as prove incompetence did raise eyebrows within the department. He was, after all, the junior member and not really expected to provide standards quite yet for a senior's performance. His right to say as he pleased was valued, and the senior members actually seemed to enjoy his independence of thought and support him in a church-like way. But contrary to the belief of many opponents of academic freedom, the church attitude has never been that a teacher should be allowed to blather anything that comes into his head without any accountability at all. The church attitude is simply that the accountability must be to the God of reason, not to the idols of political power. The fact that he was insulting people was irrelevant to the truth or falsehood of what he was saying, and he couldn't ethically be struck down for this. But what they were prepared to strike him down for ethically and with gusto was any indication that he wasn't making sense. He could do anything he wanted as long as he justified it in terms of reason. But how the HE double hockey sticks do you ever justify in terms of reason? A refusal to define something. Definitions are the foundation of reason. You can't reason without them. He could hold off the attack for a while with fancy dialectical footwork and insults about competence and incompetence, but sooner or later, he had to come up with something more substantial than that. His attempt to come up with something substantial led to further crystallization beyond the traditional limits of rhetoric and into the domain of philosophy. Chris turns and flashes a tormented look at me. It won't be long now. Even before we left, there were clues this was coming. When DeWeese told a neighbor I was experiencing the mountains, Chris showed a big flash of admiration. It was a large thing in his eyes. He should be done for soon. He should be done for soon, and then we can stop for the day. Oop, there he goes. He's falling down. He's not getting up. It was an awfully neat fall, not very accidental looking. Now he looks at me with hurt and anger, searching for condemnation from me. I don't show him any. I sit down next to him and see he's almost defeated. Well, I say, we can stop here, we can go ahead, or we can go back. Which do you want to do? I don't care, he says. I don't want to. You don't want to what? I don't care, he says angrily. Then since you don't care, we'll keep going, I say, trapping him. I don't like this trip, he says. It isn't any fun. I thought it was going to be fun. Some anger catches me off guard, too. That may be true, I reply, but it's a HE double hockey sticks of a thing to say. I see a sudden flick of fear in his eyes as he gets up. We go on. The sky over the other wall of the canyon has become overcast, and the wind in the pines around us has become cool and ominous. At least the coolness makes it easier hiking. I was talking about the first wave of crystallization outside of the rhetoric that it resulted from Phaedrus' refusal to define quality. He had to answer the question, if you can't define it, what makes you think it exists? His answer was an old one belonging to a philosophic school that called itself realism. A thing exists, he said. If a world without it can't function normally, if we can show that a world without quality functions abnormally, then we have shown that quality exists, whether it's defined or not. He thereupon proceeded to subtract quality from a description of the world as we know it. The first casualty from such a subtraction, he said, would be the fine arts. If you can't distinguish between good and bad in the arts, they disappear. There's no point in hanging a painting on the wall when the bare wall looks just as good. There's no point of symphonies when scratches from the record or hum from the record player sound just as good. Poetry would disappear since it seldom makes sense and has no practical value. Seldom makes sense. Oh my God. I mean, right? Like, some of it's just like, whoa. I don't know. Anyway. It's like one of those things, like when you're like at some kind of art show or something, and there's like a banana taped to a wall, and people are like, yeah, it's like, really? Are you like, really? Like, okay, right? I don't know. And they're like, but it means something. And like, of course it does. It means something to the artist, and it potentially can mean something to you, yes. But it's a banana taped to a wall, though, right? So, I mean, are you really going to try and break that down? I don't know. It would be nice if you could access the artist's interpretation of something, the meaning behind something, because I think then it would make more of a like it would make it more meaningful to you. Like, I really wish with like every piece of work that I do, I could give a backstory with it. Like, I don't know, like with the thing, not like do like a separate video on it or whatever, or separate post or something. I mean, like, it'd be like really cool to like tell the story of it and put that with it online. But I mean, I don't. Anyways, people like quick and easy things to read and look at and stuff. They don't like, a lot of people don't like all the, I've even tried to give backstories to things that I've given people personally, and they're like, okay, yeah, thank you. And I'm like, I guess it's, I don't know if they're just really excited or if they have like anxiety or something. I have no idea. Anyway, but yeah, it's just funny about the poetry because, yeah, I don't know. All right, let me find where I'm at. Okay, so poetry would disappear since it seldom makes sense and has no practical value. And interestingly, comedy would vanish too. No one would understand the jokes since the difference between humor and no humor is pure quality. Eh. But I mean, quality I feel like is like relative because like what I may think is fine. Like, I like Jeff Foxworthy, Bill Engvall, Fluffy. And back in the day, I liked Carlos Mencia, but I don't know if his comedy would land with me right now. And back in the day, I liked Dave Chappelle. I don't know if his comedy would land with me right now, but I mean, like, I may think those people are funny. You may not. You know what I mean? Anyway, you may like the guy that does the ventriloquist act. I don't remember his name. I don't like that. That's not my type of comedy. Anyway, so to me, and my quality meter, it wouldn't land with me, you know. Anyway, next he made sports disappear. Football, baseball games of every sort would vanish. The scores would no longer be a measurement of anything meaningful, but simply empty statistics like the number of stones in a pile of gravel. Who would attend them? Who would play? Next, he subtracted quality from the marketplace and predicted the changes that would take place. Since quality of flavor would be meaningless, supermarkets would carry only basic grains such as rice, cornmeal, soybeans, and flour. Possibly also some ungraded meat, milk for weaning infants, and vitamin and mineral supplements to make up deficiencies. Alcoholic beverages, tea, coffee, and tobacco would vanish. So would movies, dances, plays, and parties. We would all use public transportation. We would all wear GI shoes. We'd all have jacked up feet. Oh, a huge proportion of us would be out of work, but this would probably be temporary until we relocated in essential non-quality work. Applied science and technology would be drastically changed by pure science, mathematics, philosophy, and particularly logic would be unchanged. Phaedrus found this last to be extremely interesting. The purely intellectual pursuits were the least affected by subtraction of quality. If quality were dropped, only rationality would remain unchanged. That was odd. Why would that be? He didn't know, but he did know that by subtracting quality from a picture of the world as we know it, he'd revealed a magnitude of importance of this term he hadn't known was there. The world can function without it, but life would be so dull as to be hardly worth living. In fact, it wouldn't be worth living. The term worth is a quality term. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Life would be just living without any values or purpose at all. He looked back over the distance this line of thought had taken him and decided he'd certainly proved his point. Since the world obviously doesn't function normally when quality is subtracted, quality exists, whether it's defined or not. After conjuring up this vision of a qualityless world, he was soon attracted to its resemblance to a number of social situations he had already read about. Ancient Sparta came to mind, communist Russia and her satellites, communist China, the brave new world of Aldous, Aldous, Huxley, Huxley, and the 1984 of George Orwell, which I'm going to read next. because that book, like, I couldn't keep up with it because, like, whenever I read books at night before I go to bed, sometimes I'm just too tired. So, like, if I just, like, read a page and then something happens where I can't read that particular book for the next couple days, I've completely forgot because it didn't hook me. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, but I want to know what it says. I want to know how it relates to now and all that. He also remembered people from his own experience who would have endorsed this qualityless world. And also, I can't do, like, those ones where they read, like, Audible and stuff. I can't do that because I'll zone out into, like, my own work, or, like, either, like, work for my shop, or, like, housework or whatever it is. I'll totally zone out and be like, what the heck? I missed, like, 10 minutes of it or something. The same ones who tried to make him quit smoking, they wanted rational reasons for his smoking, and when he didn't have any, acted very superior, as though he'd lost face or something. They had to have reasons and plans and solutions for everything. They were his own kind, the kind he was now attacking, and he searched for a long time for a suitable name to sum up just what characterized them, so as to get a handle on the qualityless world. It was intellectual primarily, but it wasn't just intelligence that was fundamental. It was a certain basic attitude about the way the world was, a presumptive vision that it ran according to laws, reason, and that man's improvement lay chiefly through the discovery of these laws of reason and application of them toward satisfaction of his own desires. It was his faith that held everything together. He squinted at this vision of a qualityless world for a while, conjured up more details, thought about it, and then squinted some more and thought some more, and then finally circled back to where he was before. Squareness. That's the look. That sums it. Squareness. When you subtract quality, you get squareness. Absence of quality is the essence of squareness. To artist friends with whom he had once traveled across the U.S. came to mind. They were Negroes who had always been complaining about just this qualitylessness he was describing. Square. That was their word for it. Way back long ago, before the mass media had picked it up and given it natural white usage, they had called all that intellectual stuff square and had wanted nothing to do with it. And there had been a fantastic mismeshing of conversations and attitudes between him and them, because he was such a prime example of the squareness they were talking about. The more he had tried to pin them down on what they were talking about, the vaguer they had gotten. Now, with this quality, he seemed to say the same thing and talk as vaguely as they did, even though what he talked about was as hard and clear and solid as any rationally defined entity he'd ever dealt with. Quality. That's what they'd been talking about all the time. Man, will you just please kindly dig it? He remembered one of them saying, and hold up on all those wonderful $7 questions. If you got to ask what is it all the time, you'll never get time to know. Soul quality, the same? The wave of crystallization rolled ahead. He was seeing two worlds simultaneously. On the intellectual side, the square side, he saw now that quality was a cleavage term. What every intellectual analyst looks for, you take your analytic knife, put the point directly on the term quality, and just tap. Not hard, gently. And then the whole world splits, cleaves right into hip and square, classic and romantic, technological and humanistic, and the split is clean. There's no mess, no slop. No little items that could be one way or the other, not just a skilled break, but a very lucky break. Sometimes the best analysts work with the most obvious lines of cleavage, can tap and get nothing but a pile of trash. And yet, here was quality, a tiny, almost unnoticeable fault line. A line of illogic in our concept of the universe, and you tapped it. And the whole universe came apart so neatly it was almost unbelievable. He wished Kant were alive. Kant would have appreciated it. That master diamond cutter he would see hold quality undefined. That was the secret. Phaedrus wrote with some beginning awareness that he was involved in a strange kind of an intellectual suicide. Squareness may be succinctly and yet thoroughly defined as an inability to see quality before it's been intellectually defined, that is, before it gets all chopped up into words. We have proved that quality, though undefined, exists. Its existence can be seen empirically in the classroom and can be demonstrated logically by showing that a world without it cannot exist as we know it. What remains to be seen, the thing to be analyzed is not quality, but those peculiar habits of thought called squareness that sometimes prevent us from seeing it. Thus did he seek to turn the attack. The subject for analysis, the patient on the table, was no longer quality, but analysis itself. Quality was healthy and in good shape. Analysis, however, seemed to have something wrong with it that prevented it from seeing the obvious. I look back and see Chris is way behind. "Come on," I shout. He doesn't answer. "Come on," I shouted. Then I see him fall sideways and sit in the grass on the side of the mountain. I leave my pack and go back down to him. The slope is so steep I have to dig my feet in sideways. When I get there, he's crying. "I hurt my ankle," he says, and doesn't look at me. When an ego climber has an image of himself to protect, he naturally lies to protect this image. But it's disgusting to see, and I'm ashamed of myself for letting this happen. Yeah, it's real frustrating, I can tell you that. Now my own willingness to continue becomes eroded by his tears, and his inner sense of defeat passes to me. I sit down, live with this for a while, then without turning away from it, pick up his backpack and say to him, "I'll carry the packs in relays. I'll take this one up to where mine is, and then you stop and wait with it so we don't lose it. Then I'll take mine up farther and then come back for yours. That way you can get plenty of rest. It'll be slower, but we'll get there." But I've done this too soon. There's still disgust and resentment in my voice, which he hears and is shamed by. He shows anger but says nothing for fear he'll have to carry the pack again. Just frowns and ignores me while I relay the packs upward. I wonder, is he going to actually feel bad about it and start carrying his pack again? Or is he going to just watch his dad continue to carry double packs and double the walk, right? I mean, there's like two types of people. There's three. There's the people who want to do it but physically cannot. There's the people who give up. They can physically do it, but they give up, and they do not care that you are literally going to have to basically carry them, and they kind of feel entitled to it. And then there's the others who there's the one who physically can but can't, or excuse me, physically wants to but can't, or wants to but can't physically. Then the other one is they can do it physically, but they've got a block and they feel entitled that you should carry their stuff. And then there's the other one that can actually do it, I guess. I don't know. I just confused myself. Hang on. Let me get my thoughts together. Hold on. Okay, I got it. So then there's the one who can physically do it, but literally gets that mental block. And then they're like, "Oh, woe is me. So sorry. Like, for myself, I'm a victim," whatever it is. And they let the person start carrying the stuff. They see that they're doing that, and they're like, "Oh, dang. I gotta suck it the frick up. Like, they can't be doing my work. They can't be pulling double. Like, this is hard on me. I'm not gonna sit here and be a burden and make it hard on them too." Which one is this guy gonna be? Okay. I relay the packs upward. I work off the resentment at having to do this by realizing that it isn't any more work for me, actually the other way, than the other way. It's more work in terms of reaching the top of the mountain, but that's only the nominal goal. In terms of the real goal, put it in good minutes, one after the other, it comes out the same. In fact, better. We climb slowly upward and the resentment leaves. For the next hour, we move slowly upward. I carrying the packs in relays to where I locate. Why does it say I carrying the packs? That's weird. Anyway, to where I locate the beginning trickle of a stream. I send Chris down for water in one of the pans, which he gets. When he comes back, he says, "Why are we stopping here? Let's keep going. Please, let's keep going. He ain't carrying no pack. What you talking about?" This is probably the last stream we'll see for a long time, Chris, and I'm tired. "Why are you so tired? Shut the front door." Is he trying to infuriate me? He's succeeded. "I'm tired, Chris, because I'm carrying the packs. If you're in a hurry, take your pack and go up ahead. I'll catch up with you." Don't they go hang? Okay, you in a good chance. Can't tell me again. Love you, mean it.